Now every once in a while I like to try out a game or genre that I know that I'm not good at, but I still very much appreciate the qualities about it. Sometimes this might be a racing sim. Where I prefer arcade racers, sometimes I like to dip my toe in the racing sims, and I like to see how those games tackle that sim-like perspective, but that usually results in some funny gameplay footage. Elden Ring was another good example where I found a lot to enjoy about the design when it came to the exploration, but I would never really consider myself a good player at Souls-like experiences. But I think going outside of your comfort zone is good because you never really know what you're going to enjoy until you actually sit down and play it. Just like with Elden Ring, Sifu was a game that showed how awful I was at it, but I enjoyed the presentation and minute-to-minute action that focused on player skill rather than typical RPG upgrades. This is partially why I wanted to try out Metal Hellsinger. This rhythm-based first-person shooter simply looked good, but I knew going into it that I could not keep a beat at all. And this would be another example of a game that I have a low skill in, but one that I was glad that I played. This is fun, and one that most first-person shooter fans should at least try. Metal Hellsinger is a first-person shooter that has a considerable amount of skill behind much of its gameplay. You will be able to pick up on the basics pretty quickly, but it's a tough game to really master. As you start to get the hit streak system down, you'll find yourself enjoying this game even more, as it feels like a mix between shooters, Devil May Cry, and even a little bit of Guitar Hero. Visually, a lot of detail was put into this game to make each level distinctly enjoyable to shoot through. Variety is continuous with new enemies introduced at a good rate, along with new weapons to try out. And all of this is surrounded in a simple yet enjoyable story that provides quality visuals and narration.
Cold and ice and despair. Unknown didn't care though. She had her own plan.
Now let's start off with the basics. Your main goal is to go from A to B, hacking and shooting your way to the boss. Just like with most shooters, your goal is to take out the opposition and survive the encounter. But Metal Hellsinger adds on a rhythm and score system that changes up the action greatly. So yes, it is important for you to shoot your enemies, but you also need to pay attention to a few other elements. For example, your crosshair will show you the beat of the music. If you time your hits well, then your hit streak will increase. As you hit enemies by keeping the beat, you will do more damage. If you can manage to increase your hit streak more, then you will gain various bonuses that you will earn throughout the campaign, along with increasing the amount of ultimate energy for your weapons. This core element to the game is one that I struggled with a lot, and you can see much of that from my gameplay footage that I'm not very good at this. But this is where much of the skill comes into play, and the game continually rewards the player for getting their attacks in sync with the music of the stage. These mechanics add that tough but appreciated player skill element to work on as you grow throughout your experience. Now included with this is a fury system. As you perform actions to the beat, you will increase your fury, which allows the music to intensify along with allowing you to do more damage. For healing, you will find green crystals to replenish your health, but you can also perform slaughter kills on weakened enemies. When an enemy is glowing and you can time the takedown button with the beat, you can instantly kill an enemy and they will drop useful health for you. This mechanic actively pushes the player into the action, rather than running away from it, and when combined with the hit streak and fury, you'll have plenty to pay attention to, so you are not just only fighting the enemies that you see, but you're also trying to add in a certain level of style to the combat. When it comes to the movement, you have access to a dash and a double jump. Both are great for getting to a better position and preserving your health, along with a means to close the distance with another enemy. Weapons range from your reliable sword to several different ranged options. As you kill enemies to the beat, you will charge your ultimate meter with that weapon, and you can unleash a harder hitting hit with it. Your weapons have good sound effects with really satisfying impact. Enemies tend to blow up in chunks, greatly showing the power of your arsenal.
Hell of a night for a story, ain't it? Well, set her down. Look at them stars. and I'll tell you one. South heaven, way south now, there was this soul.
Story-wise, this was a nice surprise. Not because this is the most in-depth narrative, but rather it's a good example of simple and enjoyable. The cutscenes are a mix of still images with some moving elements, along with quality narration. They are mostly narrated by Troy Baker, and he is doing a southern accent, which fits the game very well, but he ends up sounding like Joel from The Last of Us as the narrator. Now, like I mentioned before, with this being a very skill-driven experience, it naturally provides plenty of replay value, as you will be gaining that satisfaction as you grow. As you complete your main missions, you will unlock these side challenges that will provide you with additional unlocks and equipment that you can take into the main levels. This means that you can return to older stages with a personalized loadout for your playstyle. I personally found this game to be really tough, but very enjoyable. But there are a few flaws that I noticed. Early on, I had a glitch where half the room disappeared and new enemies would spawn in and just fall to their deaths. Thankfully, I could still beat this area and proceed, but this just showed that maybe it needed some more patches to improve the presentation in this level. Now, like I said before, as you can see from my gameplay, I'm not good at this game, which I want to make clear that I think some will find this game very hard, just like I did. But again, it's really fun. So this is an example of a game that I think everyone should at least try, but I don't think everyone will love it. Now, before we move to the conclusion, I want to highlight the soundtrack. With a game focused on mixing the gameplay with the music, you would hope that it would be equally as good. And I can confirm the music is really good. Here are a few tracks from the game. Metal Hellsinger is a pleasant surprise for shooter fans. It is visually inviting along with having a great set of tracks to listen to. The gameplay is very skill focused, so that means that there is a learning curve to really understanding the mechanics and mastering them. But at the same time, there is a distinct sense of satisfaction as you slowly grow. The weapons are fun to use as well, and it's a joy to blow up a variety of demons in this game. Story-wise, this was good too, with a solid narration that helps to bring the narrative to life. Don't expect an in-depth story with loads of character development, but it is simple and complements the action nicely. Metal Hellsinger is a very fun first-person shooter and one that I recommend you check out. If you're interested in being notified of new videos, please hit the subscribe button and bell. And if you'd like to support the channel and get early access to content, please check out my Patreon. All the links will be at the end of this video and within the description. And thank you very much for watching.